Apple has been rumored to add Touch ID to the Apple Watch for years now. Every couple of years, the idea comes back, people get excited, and then nothing happens. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me keep bringing you more tech breakdowns like this one. And according to a new leak, that's exactly what's happening again with the Apple Watch Series 12. No Touch ID, no fingerprint scanner. And honestly, that might be the smartest decision Apple could make right now. Because instead of chasing a feature that sounds cool on paper, Apple may finally be focusing on the things that actually matter for a smartwatch. The latest report says Apple has no plans to bring Touch ID to the upcoming Apple Watch Series 12. The leak comes from Instant Digital on Weibo, and it directly pushes against the rumors that have been floating around recently. So, if you were expecting to unlock your watch with your fingerprint this year, it probably isn't happening. And when you really think about it, the reasoning actually makes a lot of sense. A smartwatch is already tied closely to your phone. Your Apple Watch unlocks automatically when it's connected to your iPhone, and most people don't really use the watch as a fully independent device. Adding Touch ID would require extra hardware inside an already tiny product, and that creates a problem Apple probably doesn't want to deal with. Every millimeter inside a smartwatch matters. Adding a fingerprint sensor means sacrificing space for something else, and Apple seems to believe that something else is more important. According to the rumors, Apple is instead focusing on upgrades like a larger battery and more advanced health sensors. And honestly, those are the kinds of improvements people will notice every single day. Think about it. Nobody buys an Apple Watch and says, you know what this needs? A fingerprint scanner. But people absolutely complain about battery life. People absolutely care about better health tracking. That's where the real value is. The Apple Watch has gradually become less about notifications and more about health and wellness. Features like heart rate monitoring, ECG, fall detection, sleep tracking, and temperature sensing have turned it into something much bigger than just an accessory for your iPhone. And now, the next major step could be blood glucose monitoring. That feature has been rumored for a while, and while reports say it's still in early development, it's exactly the kind of upgrade that could genuinely change lives. If Apple can eventually bring reliable glucose monitoring to the Apple Watch without invasive hardware, that would be far more important than adding Touch ID. Because one feature is convenient, the other could become medically meaningful. What's also interesting is that the Apple Watch Series 12 apparently won't look very different from the current Series 11. Reports suggest Apple is saving a bigger redesign for somewhere around 2028 or even later. So, for now, Apple seems focused less on changing the appearance and more on improving what the watch actually does. And honestly, that feels very Apple. The company usually moves slowly with hardware changes, but when it does add something, it wants that feature to feel polished and genuinely useful. Sometimes that approach is frustrating, especially when competitors experiment with more aggressive designs or features, but other times it prevents Apple from adding gimmicks that sound exciting but don't really improve the experience. Touch ID on a smartwatch kind of falls into that category. It sounds futuristic at first, but in practice, how often would people even use it? Your watch is already unlocked most of the time when you're wearing it. Apple's existing system is already seamless enough that adding fingerprint authentication might solve a problem most users don't actually have. Meanwhile, longer battery life would help literally everyone. Better health sensors would help literally everyone. And if Apple can make the watch smarter without making it more complicated, that's probably the better direction. There's also the issue of trade-offs. Smartwatches are tiny devices, and engineers constantly have to decide what deserves internal space. A bigger battery competes with sensors. Sensors compete with thermal management. Every component affects something else. So, if Apple looked at Touch ID and decided it wasn't worth the compromise, that decision probably came after a lot of internal testing. And honestly, I think most users would agree with that call once the novelty wears off. At this point, the Apple Watch doesn't really need more ways to unlock itself. It needs to become more useful, more reliable, and more health-focused. That's what separates smartwatches from regular tech gadgets now.
The future of wearables probably isn't about adding laptop features to your wrist. It's about creating devices that quietly improve daily life in meaningful ways. And if Apple Watch Series 12 delivers better battery life, stronger health tracking, and eventually pushes towards features like glucose monitoring, that's a much bigger win than squeezing Touch ID into a tiny display. So while some people may be disappointed that the fingerprint rumors are dead again, Apple may actually be making the smarter long-term choice. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.